Folks, first of all, happy holidays to you. This is about the power of God. God can save gangsters, drug slingers, and gangbangers. Now, where I grew up in the middle class section of Queens, New York, we first started out in the Queensbridge projects, and then we went to South Jamaica. But at that time, drugs wasn't as bad or prevalent as they became in the later 60s and 70s and 80s, as you well know. So I'm just going to get brief up there. Remember, the prayer of the righteous availeth much. Where I grew up, I had my mother and father who was with me all the time, with me and my brothers, and my brother and my sister. My parents, I was blessed. My parents were there. Most of the guys, 90% of the people that I grew up with didn't have father or mother. So this is what I'm telling you, how God saved me and some people that I know, which is they're going to give their testimony later. When I was coming in, I was in school, and one of my friends told me to go by, hey, come over here with this. I'm going to pick up a package. I had no idea this guy was slinging cocaine, So I went over there with this guy, and I mean, there's cocaine everywhere, and on the side, there's heroin. Like, what? People were leaning over, they were shooting up. I'm like, what's going on? Because I've been knew people were shooting heroin, because ever since back in the 60s, I was seeing it with my own eyes, how people would react and how they, dropsy, so to speak. But he started out and he went home, he said, come on home with me. I'm like, man, are you crazy? And then little by little, I began to realize that a lot of the people that I knew, white and black, were selling cocaine or heroin. And a lot of them were selling angel dust, meth came later. So a lot of guys I grew up with and very close friends, we going over to Harlem, there's bricks all over the place, bricks of cocaine. And first one guy started out with an 8-ball. Let me tell you, and one of the guys I knew, he had a running with from cats from Brooklyn. So they would pay me, wanted to pay me just to drive, So I went around the corner. When I came back, all the gunfire went off. One incident, I was on the ground. Bullets were flying through car windows, through the doors and everything. I mean, and he was laying there with a hole in his chest. He was blasted up. I said, oh man, this is, but my mother and some of the saints in the family were saints. And I'm just talking from, about me. I'm not calling anybody's name. Then he had died. Then another friend of mine, he owned a little shop. It was more like a front. And I mean, these guys were getting it back and they were bricks up off the floor. I mean, stacks of money. This gang, I mean, they were drug slinging hard. I mean, they were shooting and killing. Most of the people that I grew up with who were involved in that type of life are in prison for 20 years or more or are dead. One of the guys, it was a famous episode. He even had a shootout with the cops, and this guy's been in prison since 1981, and he's still in there. Folks, we have to keep your children covered under the blood. Prayer changes things. Keep them covered under the blood, because now you have people that are coming up to kids, well, they've been doing it, and offering them a lot of money for selling drugs or transporting drugs. Because you must remember one thing. The first thing coming to their mind is that there's only so much that you can do with a kid. And a lot of these kids are growing up because they're raised up in a one-parent environment where most likely 90% of the time it's the mother raising them, and she doesn't have enough money. So the child is out there selling drugs or either a lookout or transporting. So this incident, I went upstairs, went to his apartment. Remember, this guy got a few bricks. I mean, this is good money, and I didn't know he had that kind of money. And the guy's right down the hall. He said, come on over here, I'm going to talk to him. There was a partner of his. He was selling heroin, and I mean, people were in there, they were shooting up, and, it was a hit house, like, man, look at this going on. Hey, you drop him here, you drop him there. One of my friends got in the car. He wanted me to run him to the bus stop. Because what happened is, we had to do a couple of people, because they were really, everybody was looking for him. And it's got so wild to you be standing on the corner and a car would jump up, and you have drive-bys, and you had to get down on the ground. I know everybody heard of South Jamaica, and at that time it was really sinister. And you know the name of the group that was the gangster that was down there selling, because it's all over the American Gangsters. So a lot of some of these guys I grew up with, man, a lot of these people, they had no father figure. Only figure they had were gangs. So keep your children under the blood and pray and talk to them and tell them to be extremely careful and not to approach or deal with anybody that want them to do anything with drugs. To come and tell you, then you go and tell the cops immediately, or authority figure. Because I'm gonna tell you, in a lot of cases, we would sit there and watch, and the cops would come down the block just to get their payoff from a spot that was selling. So you can't, you have to watch, be extremely careful. Nothing is more heartbreaking than trying to help someone who don't want help. So you have to pray to the good Lord to touch their hearts. Because my mother was a praying saint, and she still is. And so I can go back 30 years. I can tell you where I've seen bricks of coke stacked up on the floor. I've seen piles of heroin. I mean, I've seen it. Great weight and lots of money. I've seen gunfights, shootouts, dead bodies. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just telling you how powerful God is. You have to remember one thing. Once a person gets involved with the drug trade, how awful, how terrible it is that activate the sin nature when they see all this large amounts of money. And once they get infected with that mindset, remember, if he could go on the corner and stand a few hours and make $1,000 or more, he's not going to go in there and flip burgers. So you have to pray for them, pray for that they want to go to school, that they want to live a godly life, to educate themselves, because that's the only way you're going to make a difference in these people's life. Now you can see what's going on in Chicago. That is not good at all. Now I've seen a lot of that in New York where I came from, and it's not good. I've seen a lot of people, even some. Well, I'm not going to say that, but it's like a disease. Once that starts in the neighborhood, it becomes violent. Because people want drugs. They have to feed their habit. They're extremely dangerous. They'll kill their mother. They will do anything. So like I say, keep them covered under the blood of Jesus, and pray that who's ever affected by that in your family or friend, that God touches their heart. And because like I say, I was blessed. I was riding a guy in my car one night, and I didn't know what all he had on him. I've seen people he was transporting out of state. And he had to come to the train station, and they ratted on him. But that's another story. And he's a minister now. This guy is on fire for the Lord. He did his time, and God turned his life around. So I'm just telling you, with the thing that my eyes have seen, and a lot of dangerous things that the Lord has brought me through and out of. I mean, one time I got off the train station, and nothing but money. And I was talking to some people. And one guy wanted me to drop him off. And he was, man, you're going to get yourself. And I told him, I said, man, I have some friends over here. Ain't nobody gonna mess with me. But God delivered me out of all these different things, And so I give God all the glory, the honor, and the praise, because I know I've seen some people that He have turned just through prayer. You never cease. You never give up your prayer. So keep your family covered under the blood, and just ask God to help and deliver these people out of this thirst for that fast life, because that's just the sin nature. That's the sin nature activated through the lust of the eyes and just the lust of the flesh. God bless you. And just pray, never cease. God can save the gangsters, drug dealers, and gangbangers. God bless you.